Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. It was a seemingly ordinary Thursday, but one that was poised to change everything I understood about my marriage. My wife, Lila, had recently taken up Pilates, claiming it was her new passion, something about improving her flexibility and core strength. She'd become enthusiastic, attending sessions more frequently, always at the same studio downtown. That evening, as twilight began to blur the edges of the city, I decided to surprise her with a post-workout dinner date. I parked outside the sleek, glass-fronted building that housed the Pilates studio and texted her that I was downstairs waiting. But the minutes ticked by without any sign of her. Puzzled and growing impatient, I decided to go inside. The lobby was quiet, the hum of a vending machine filling the air. I was directed to the studio on the second floor by a friendly receptionist who gave me a knowing smile, which I thought nothing of at the time. Pushing open the door to the studio, my steps muffled by the thick, plush carpet, I was hit by a wave of heat and the faint scent of sweat mixed with expensive cologne. The room was dimly lit, the walls lined with mirrors reflecting an image that stopped me dead in my tracks. There was Lila, scantily clad, with her legs wrapped in a resistance band. And there, between them, was her trainer, Marco, a man whose physical appeal was undeniable. But it wasn't his professionalism she was enjoying, it was something far more personal. My heart hammered in my chest as I watched, hidden partially behind a stack of yoga mats. Marco's hands were on her, not guiding her through a stretch but caressing her with a familiarity that screamed betrayal. The sound of my name being called snapped me out of my daze. Turning, I saw a woman from the class staring at me, her eyes wide with surprise and maybe pity. "Are you okay?" she whispered, noticing my pale face and clenched fists. I couldn't speak. My voice was gone, strangled by the tight knot of betrayal in my throat. Nodding mutely, I backed out of the room, my mind racing. As I retreated to the sanctuary of my car, the shock began to morph into anger. With every pounding beat of my heart, a plan began to form. Lila had made her choice, and now, I would make mine. "I'll ruin her," I whispered to myself as I started the engine. The roar of the car seemed to agree with me, a growl of support for the revenge that brewed darkly in my mind. Driving away, the images of what I had witnessed burned behind my eyes, fueling a rage that would soon turn into calculated retribution. This was just the beginning, and Lila had no idea what was coming. The night after the discovery was sleepless. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, as scenes of betrayal replayed endlessly in my mind. The first light of dawn was a relief, a signal that it was time to act, not just stew in my anger. I waited in the kitchen, pretending to read the newspaper when Lila finally came home. Her entrance was quiet, almost sneaky, but I was ready. She jumped slightly when she saw me, a clear sign of her guilt. "Morning, Jack," she said, her voice unnaturally cheerful. "You're up early." I folded the newspaper, placing it on the table with deliberate slowness. "Couldn't sleep," I replied, my tone flat. "Worried about you. You came back quite late from Pilates." Her smile faltered as she poured herself a coffee. "Yeah, the session ran over. You know how it is." "I do, actually," I said, standing up. "Because I saw how the session ran over." I watched her closely, looking for any sign of reaction. Lila's hand trembled, the coffee cup clinking against the counter. What do you mean?" "I went to pick you up last night. Thought we could grab dinner." I stepped closer, my anger hard to keep in check. Imagine my surprise when I walk in and see my wife with her legs wrapped around her trainer. The color drained from her face. "Jack, I can explain." "No need," I cut her off, raising my hand. "I saw enough." She reached out, her hand touching my arm. "It's not what you think, Jack. Please, let's talk about this." Pulling my arm away, I shook my head. "There's nothing to talk about." I stepped back, my mind clear on what needed to be done. I want a divorce, Lila. The word divorce hung between us like a thick fog, heavy and unavoidable. Lila's eyes filled with tears, her whole body seeming to deflate. Please, Jack. We can fix this. I made a mistake. A mistake. My laugh was bitter, hollow. No, a mistake is forgetting to pay a bill, not cheating on your husband. I trusted you, and you broke that. There's no coming back from it. She sobbed, covering her face with her hands. I'm so sorry, Jack. I never meant to hurt you. I need some time to sort out how we'll handle things, but I want you out of the house by tomorrow. My voice was firm, leaving no room for argument. Lila nodded, her body racked with sobs. As she turned to go upstairs, I felt a mix of relief and profound sadness. The plan of retribution was set in motion, and although it would bring no joy, it was necessary. With Lila out of sight, I picked up the phone to call a lawyer. It was time to protect my interests and ensure that the divorce was as swift and decisive as the betrayal had been. As I dialed, my resolve hardened. This was just the beginning, and I was ready to see it through to the end. The next day unfolded with mechanical precision. I had given Lila until the end of the day to move out, and as evening approached, the house felt colder, emptier. She had packed her belongings quietly, the weight of our impending divorce palpable in the silence between us. As she loaded the last of her suitcases into the car, she paused, her eyes meeting mine. Jack, are you sure we can't talk about this? Maybe see someone, a therapist? We've built so much together. Her plea hung in the air, but my resolve remained firm. I think it's best if we go our separate ways, Lila. There's nothing left to discuss. She nodded, tears brimming but not falling. I hope one day you can forgive me, she whispered before turning to get into her car. I watched her drive away, the finality of the moment settling in. I felt a mix of relief and sorrow, but underneath it all, a simmering anger remained. It wasn't enough for Lila to just leave, I needed to ensure that the betrayal she inflicted would not go unanswered. Turning back inside, I started planning. My first call was to the bank. I needed to secure my financial assets, ensuring that Lila couldn't make any claims that might complicate the divorce. I spent the next hour on the phone, confirming that all joint accounts were frozen and setting up new ones in my name only. Afterward, I sat down at my computer to draft an email to her family. They needed to hear my side of the story before Lila could twist the narrative. My fingers hesitated over the keyboard before I began typing, each word measured and cold. To whom it may concern, I started, opting for formality to mask the bitterness. I regret to inform you that Lila and I will be divorcing due to irreconcilable differences. I discovered that Lila has been unfaithful, a betrayal that I cannot overlook. We will proceed with legal actions accordingly, and I ask for your understanding and respect for our privacy during this difficult time. I hit send before I could second-guess my decision. It was a declaration of war, one that would ripple through our families, but necessary to protect my integrity. The final act of the day was to call Marco, her Pilates instructor. I found his number on the studio's website and dialed, my heart beating a steady rhythm of impending confrontation. Marco? This is Jack, Lila's husband, I said when the call connected, my voice steady. There was a pause, then a cautious, yes, Jack. How can I help? I think you know why I'm calling. I saw what happened at your studio. I want you to know that I'm not going to let this go quietly. I'll be speaking with your employer about the professional boundaries you've crossed. His apology was quick, almost rehearsed. Jack, I'm truly sorry. It was unprofessional, and I regret that it happened. Sorry doesn't fix what you broke, I replied curtly. I'll make sure everyone knows the kind of man you are. The call ended with a click, leaving me in the silence of my now solitary home. I leaned back in my chair, the first waves of exhaustion washing over me. This was just the beginning of my retribution. Lila and Marco would learn the hard way that betrayal comes with a price, one that I intended to exact in full. Weeks had passed since Lila left, and the quiet that had once been suffocating in our home now gave me space to think, to plan. My revenge had unfolded methodically, a chess game where I was always 2 moves ahead. The divorce papers were filed, her access to our financial reserves had been blocked, and her family knew the sordid truth. Yet, the ultimate act of retribution was still brewing. I had learned that Marco was scheduled to receive a prestigious local fitness award at a gala. The public nature of the event was the perfect stage for my final play. I had something that would not only ruin his career but also ensure he never forgot the cost of betrayal. On the night of the gala, I arrived early, blending into the crowd of well-dressed attendees. Marco was there, laughing and shaking hands, the picture of success. The sight of him sparked the familiar flare of anger in my chest, fueling my resolve. As the award ceremony began, I positioned myself near the stage. When they called Marco up to receive his award, I made my move. I stepped forward, interrupting the applause with a loud, clear voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to interrupt, but there is something you all need to know about this man," I announced, projecting my voice over the murmurs of the crowd. Marco's face paled as he spotted me, and confusion rippled through the audience. I held up my phone, connected to the projector that displayed a series of explicit emails between him and Lila, emails that detailed their affair and his manipulation. "These are emails between Marco and my wife, detailing their affair and his professional misconduct. This man does not deserve an award, he deserves to be exposed for who he really is," I declared, the emails now visible to everyone in the room. The reaction was immediate. Gasps and whispers filled the room as people read the damning words on the screen. Marco stood frozen, his career and reputation crumbling in real time. As the initial shock settled, I walked out of the gala, not looking back. My message had been delivered, and my revenge was complete. But there was one more step to close this chapter of my life forever. The next day, I drove to Lila's new apartment, the final letter from the divorce lawyer in hand. She opened the door, her eyes widening in surprise and fear. "Jack, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I came to deliver this," I said, handing her the envelope. "It's over, Lila. Our divorce is final. You'll find that I was more than fair, despite everything." She took the envelope, her hands shaking. "Jack, Save it," I cut her off, my voice cold. "I came here for closure, not reconciliation. You chose this path, Lila. Live with it." Turning on my heel, I left her standing in the doorway, a symbol of a life I was leaving behind. As I drove away, the weight of the past weeks began to lift. I had exacted my revenge, not through violence but through the ruthless unveiling of truth. Lila and Marco would move on, but the scars of their betrayal would endure, a reminder of the cost of deceit. The drive home was long, and for the first time in months, I felt a sense of peace. The chapter of Lila and betrayal was closed, sealed away with the satisfaction of retribution. Ahead, the road was open, leading to a future where I could start anew, free from the shadows of the past.